This is Groove Talk with Froggy Style.
Welcome to another episode of Groove Talk, everybody. On this episode, I am joined by Bryan Schaefer, and he is the owner of School of Rock on 17th Avenue.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, of course. So just to get started, why don't we tell the audience a little bit about yourself and also the organization?
Yeah, I've been involved with the school now. We're going into our fourth summer. And I came across the opportunity from traveling in the United States. I was at an outdoor event, and I saw this awesome kid band play, and I hadn't heard of School of Rock prior to that. And then after I saw them play, they announced them as School of Rock, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. I've heard of the movie. I know a little bit about the brand. And then that's where the business opportunity kind of came on my radar. Prior to that, I was a business owner and an entrepreneur for many years in oil and gas and other industries, and wanted to change. Love music. I'm not a musician myself. One of the first questions I asked when I looked at this as a business is, do you need to be a musician to run the business? And they said, no, you need to know how to run a business. You can hire musicians, right? You can hire, and that's what I've done. I've surrounded myself with an awesome team of professional musicians who teach the kids how to play and perform in bands and so on. And I just run, the daily operations of the business. And so, yeah, it was a combination of me looking for a new opportunity, seeing something that didn't exist in the Calgary marketplace, and then just bringing together sort of my love for music and my entrepreneurial spirit. And I actually have kids of my own that were also in the program. So just a combination of those things, it was the perfect time, I thought, to launch this business in Calgary.
Yeah, awesome. And I think that's a lot of creative people, musicians and stuff, they don't necessarily know how to operate businesses and stuff like that. So it is good that you kind of have that business background.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a business, right? You got to make money. You got to keep customers happy. It's a service-based business. We are offering, obviously lessons in a school environment to kids. So we have to make sure we're doing it very well, very safe, very professionally. And then, we keep the lights on, we pay the bills. So that's my job.
Yeah. So why do you think something like this is important for Calgary?
Really, there's lots of taglines to our business, and I like to say we're saving rock and roll one kid at a time. It's a number of things. It's keeping rock music alive. It's giving kids an opportunity to play on stage in bands that never existed before in a real formal way. And then, just the idea of another way to learn how to play music that didn't exist before, a non-traditional, sort of formal conservatory approach to music that's fun and kids really enjoy the way we do things and how we teach. It's a very unique method, and I think, again, something that was lacking in the marketplace, and I think we're changing the way music education is done these days.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. Like, it's not something that I saw when I was growing up, a dedicated music school that would go and play at some shows, outdoor festivals and stuff like that. And it does give them that kind of live experience that any other kind of music program would seem to lack.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's sort of in the root of what we do as in the way we teach music. It's called performance-based music education, which basically means the whole reason why you're learning to play an instrument and why you're learning to play a song, and a complete song from start to finish, not a bunch of little riffs, is that you're going to be performing those songs live on stage in a short period of time. Usually 3 months is our show season. Yeah, that's the way we teach, with that intent in mind. So kids get very, very good, very fast. They're very focused. They're very motivated. And just being part of a band is a completely new experience for a lot of kids. And then the reward of all their hard work and being in the band, of course, is the killer shows that we put on and some of the awesome venues that we get to play at. It's amazing, these kids on stage. And yet we hear that all the time, parents saying, man, I wish this was around when I was a kid, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't exist when I was a kid, you know. I had to cobble together a few friends and we jam in the basement, but, you know, never got these opportunities. There's even some adults that have kids that are in their own bands and have said, I've been playing in band for 30 years and I've never played at the King Eddie. Well, our kids have. I've never played at the Palace. Well, our kids have. So, just I mean, the parents want what their kids have, and the beauty of that actually is we do have an adult program too. So the parents can get involved as well too. Once they see their kids up there, they're going, I want to do this. So, yeah, we serve as the parents as well. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So I guess what has the response in Calgary been like to you bringing this program into Calgary?
Pretty amazing, I must say. I mean, I think a good majority of the early success we had was the location. I picked a really, really key location in Killarney, very central, Beltline, easy to get to from multiple communities close by. 17th Ave, busy street. I mean, the day I signed the lease, I put up a sign, a big banner saying School of Rock coming soon. Here's the, website and the phone number. I had enrollments before we even opened. I was doing some sort of pre-construction tours and stuff. And because, like I said, nothing like it existed. So people would go to the School of Rock website, see the videos of the kids playing, and go, wow, this is neat. This is unique. So we did really well. In fact, my first year of being open, in 2016, I won an award by the franchise for Rookie of the Year, which that meant for all the schools that opened that year, I had the highest enrollment. I had over 100 students less than a year, about my first 8 months, which was sort of record-breaking for the time when we opened. So I definitely proved that there was a need for it, and it was a really, very positive response when we first opened.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So, how many School of Rocks are there across Canada then?
Well, they're sort of constantly popping up. They're on a pretty strong growth. We were the 5th location in Canada. There was 3 in Ontario that were opened before we came along. Winnipeg opened shortly before I did. I think they're about 6 months ahead of us. So I went to Winnipeg's grand opening and just kind of got a sense of help support them when they opened. Then we opened in Calgary. There's since been a 2nd location in Calgary and Regina. And I also know the folks that are opening up in St. John's, Newfoundland, of all places. And then also an owner that's getting started in Vancouver. So officially we have 7 locations in Canada and a bunch more on the way. So yeah, this is growing. Canada's doesn't have the population density of some of these major cities in the U.S. that have 5 or 6 schools, like Chicago or something.
Yeah.
So there's not a need for as many schools in each market, but it's starting to catch on, and I'm hoping, my goal is that these will be right across Canada, and then we can do a cross Canada tour with our kids and hit every school, Vancouver, and then right across and go all the way out to Ontario. That would be awesome if we could do that at some point.
Yeah, that would be cool, because then it would also add kind of another aspect of that band life,
On the tour bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, see what it's like to be a real touring band, yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you guys go about getting your instructors then?
Yeah, the interesting thing about, again, I think it had to do with our location, is I had instructors coming to me also before we opened our doors saying, hey, because the interesting thing, excuse me, about the community where the school is located, a lot of instructors live in the area. So I had a lot of instructors drive by and say, hey, I saw your sign. Either, I'm a gigging musician and I'm looking to do some more teaching, or teach for the first time, or just give back to the music community. I've had teachers come from other places where they teach. So initially I had a pretty good interest. I was able to get my entire staff starting without really having to promote a whole lot. Like I said, they sort of came to me, and it's grown, obviously. When I first opened, I think I had 4 instructors right off the bat. I now have a dozen, right? So it's growing. And the instructors that have been with me the longest, they start to refer, right? So, I mean, most of my instructors are in bands. They're, real live gigging musicians. So once they get in and start doing their thing and love School of Rock, they start recommending all their friends or all their bandmates and said, hey, you looking for a vocal instructor? My lead singer, he'd be perfect, So now, again, just because we've been at it for a while, we've got a pretty good, reputation in the marketplace, instructors come to me and say, hey, you know, if you're looking for a guitar instructor, I'd love to get involved. I've seen what you guys do. So I'm not having to go out and do much heavy recruiting anymore for instructors. Most of my instructors stick around. There's not huge turnover anyways, but just based on growth and other things, instructors move away. Some instructors go on tour for months at a time, so I lose them. So I'm not doing a ton of massive hiring or recruiting, but now it's just word of mouth, and I always get referrals from my current instructors, which is the best way to hire, right? So it's worked out great.
Awesome. And that, I guess that kind of adds, like, again, another element to it is it's not just it's like now kind of like a mentorship almost for some of these kids, I'm sure. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, again, that's why I hire, you know, instructors who have made their living being musicians, right? Or are still attempting to make a living as a musician, right? That's what they teach the kids. That's what they bring to it, right? It's one thing to have an instructor that can teach you how to strum a guitar, but have you lived the life of being, you know, a real rock star, being on stage, you know, going on tour, schlepping gear, setting things up, playing to, you know, very small crowds, playing to large crowds. So yeah, there's a huge component of life experience that these instructors, that's why I prefer to hire, you know, real life gigging musicians, you know, as opposed to, say, somebody that maybe just came out of school that has no life experience as a musician. So that's the route I choose, and and that's what we're teaching the kids at the end of the day. We're teaching them how to play guitar, but we're also teaching them how to perform on stage, how to be in a band, what it's like to go on tour, what it's like to, you know, all of those aspects, which only comes from people that have actually done it, been there, done that, lived it, right? Or still living it, as a matter of fact. So yeah, that's the best, I think, experience that you can bring to what we do from these guys.
Cool. So is it kind of, do you guys teach any kind of genre that the kids may be interested in, or do you focus on certain genres of music, or?
Well, I mean, rock is pretty broad, obviously, and we do try to mix it up all the time. I mean, there's a handful of kids that if they had their way, we'd just be doing nothing but metal, right? You know. So just to give you an example of the current show season that we're in, we have 4 shows. That's because the age group that we're doing there's 45 kids, right? So we split them into 4 different bands, and they sign up for what show they want to be in and what genre they're interested in. And we try to have a wide swath of genres. So one of the shows we're doing is Iron Maiden versus Judas Priest. So that appeases to the metalheads. They gravitate to that right away. They sign up for that show. They love it. That's all they want to do. And we've got a show for them. But that's only a small percentage of our population. We're doing another really unique show this year, Michael Jackson versus Prince. Oh, wow. And we're actually partnering with a dance company, Paul's Dance Studios, and they're going to be on stage. This is the first time we've ever done anything like this. Live music and dance on stage together. Oh, wow. So there you go. So we're going from Iron Maiden to Michael Jackson. We're doing another show that's called Southern Rock, which is, again, pretty broad, but we can do some blues stuff, some Southern Rock stuff. And then another one is New Wave. So we try to pick genres that are unique and will challenge kids, but also give them the option to choose. But it is a school at the end of the day, so we choose the curriculum. Like, we decide what these show themes are going to be, and then they can pick from the choices, right? So we don't just say to the kids, hey, what show do you want to do this season, right? Like, we decide, because there is a method to each show, like why we pick the show we pick, what educational value is it going to have, what is the show going to be like, you know, what venue are we going to choose based on the show, what have we done in the past. So there's really a lot of logic that goes into choosing the show theme. And then obviously if the theme is you know, like, well, we've done actually album themes too. So we did Pink Floyd The Wall, right? Oh, wow. So the songs are the songs. We're doing the entire album. Yeah. Awesome. Exactly. We had props and stuff. That was an epic show. We basically rented the right theater at Mount Royal with the big screen. We had live video going while it was amazing. And this Michael Jackson show is going to be equally as large because we're doing it with a dance company. We're renting a 500-seat auditorium, like a proper seated theater, and doing it lights and the whole bit. It's going to be spectacular. So once in a while we'll do an epic show like that, and part of the reason we picked that show is because it would be a cool show. We did Kiss, right? Okay. I mean, lots of kids like Kiss, some don't, but some just wanted to be in the show just for the spectacle of it, right? And I said to the kids, if you're doing Kiss, you're all in. You're doing makeup, you're doing costumes, the whole bit. So we did a Kiss show. So huge amount of variety. And we do get, like, you can pick within, pick, like, sign up for but we, within that genre, we'll pick the songs, you know, and then kids, get assigned to songs and so on. So yeah, it's pretty widespread. And because we're so large, we offer, like, lots of choice each season, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how it rolls. But yeah, there's tons of options. Like, we've already started thinking about what we're going to do for next season. And we kind of announce it, and the kids get all excited. Oh, what's going to be this year? Can you give us a hint or whatever? And then literally there's kids lining up outside the door when we announce it so they can sign up for the show they want. Because they fill up, right? We only have so many spots, right? Yeah. 4 guitars, 4 drums, 3 vocals, 1 keys. So especially for those Iron Maiden shows, those kids that want to be in that show, they want to be in that show. So the parents are calling at 8 a.m. When we, please sign up my kid for this. So there's a lot of that. But there's enough variety for everybody. Everybody seems to love what we do, and we put on great shows with lots of different genres, and also for the parents too, right? We want to give them something that they will enjoy and resonate with them. We've done 80s shows. We did a prog show. We've done, and then some wider genres like I said, sort of blues, but we've also done like a British invasion. We've done a Canadian show where it features all Canadian bands, So we got lots of options, hundreds of options. Of course, instructors want to put in their 2 cents worth. Oh, we should do this type of show. We should do that type of show. So it's fun. It's a cool process to kind of narrow that down. But that's kind of how it runs from season to season.
Cool. That's real cool, because it's not only providing like a diverse spectrum of different genres to play in, but I feel like it's also kind of educating maybe the younger generation about the music that came before them, and what the music that they're listening to today was kind of built off of.
Yes, we definitely try to do that, right? Like I was saying about those metalheads, that they're pretty particular about what they want, but they don't realize that you realize that if you go back, this is what started all that, right? Like that's why we're doing, I think next season we might be doing one called Blues Legends, right? When you look at it, and we're talking all the way back to the beginning, Muddy Waters and stuff. The kids need to, get a little history lesson, right? Realize that a lot of the bands you love today were influenced by that, the guitar players, the so on and so forth. So yeah, and we believe there's education value in not playing your favorite, you're not learning anything by playing your favorite songs, right? You already know those songs. You probably walk in having played those yourself in your basement or with buddies or whatever. Yeah. So we believe there's value in learning a different genre, learning a different type of guitar, playing style, from blues to metal to same with drumming and stuff, right? Or even jazz. I mean, we don't do jazz, but we tell our drummers, learn some jazz stuff. There's tons of value in being able to be a multifaceted player. So absolutely, everything we do is rooted in music education. So the decisions we make about shows are have an educational value. We say we believe this will help our students because of whatever reason, a history lesson or a different style or all those things. Absolutely.
And it sounds like you're just producing like well-rounded musicians in general, like instead of people who kind of get pigeonholed into one genre. Now you have a well-rounded musician who can kind of fit in anywhere.
Exactly what we teach. What we're trying to teach the kids. If you're ever going to be hired as a musician, a studio musician, or you're going to stand in for a band, or you're ever going to audition for a band or something, the more genres you can play, the more styles you can play, the better, right? Because you're automatically pigeonhole yourself. If I only like this kind of music, I only play this kind of music, and I only want to ever be in this kind of band. Well, you're very, very limiting yourself right off the bat. So we tell our kids, be versatile, be creative, try different things. It's going to only make you better as a musician, and then also give you more opportunity if you ever go out to be a professional musician. Yeah,
definitely. So when you are in the classroom, is it like kind of a mix of one-on-one instruction with like kind of playing as a group, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah, the program is there's 2 parts to it. There's basically the private lesson, which for the older kids, which is ages 12 and between 12 and 18, we call that our performance program. They get a 45-minute private lesson, and then they get a 3-hour once a week band practice, right? And they really do go hand in hand because, let's just use Iron Maiden for example. Okay, so they're in the Iron Maiden band. We've chosen the 8 songs, Iron Maiden songs that we're going to do. You're a guitar player. You've been assigned to 4 of those 8 songs as a guitar player, right? So then your private lesson instructor knows what songs you're on, works with you specifically on those songs in your private lesson. Then you go home and work on them. So when you come to band practice, you're ready. You're fully prepared, because band practice is band practice. It's putting the kids together. They should already all know their own individual parts. So that's rehearsal time. It's not, learn your part while we stand around and wait, right? It's so again, we teach kids about that. So the rehearsal director has good communication with the private lesson instructor, because they're not always the same person, right? So we have one instructor running band and another instructor teaching the guitar part. So they have to talk to one another. So the private lesson instructor knows what songs they're on. And then if there's any issues in the room, in the rehearsal room, Johnny seemed to have missed that part in the song, or that solo, or he's fallen behind, or he played the wrong note, he can share that with the private lesson instructors. They can work on it, right? So yeah, they're tightly connected. And that allows them to accelerate at a very rapid rate, right? We're not doing a lot of frivolous stuff in lesson. We're focusing specifically on the songs and making sure they can play those songs, note perfect, in a short period of time. And that's how the program really integrates nicely, and how everything works so well.
Okay, cool. So, I guess, why do you think that this is kind of important to Calgary's music scene?
I mean, again, it's, if I go back to my childhood and kind of where things have evolved for me, it's bringing back rock and roll. It's kids that love it. Us old guys that, back in the day, all the music we used to listen to. It's great to see these young kids liking it and sort of bringing it out to the world again. So, rock and roll's not dead. It's alive and well in these young kids who are going to continue that on for generations, right? So it's good just to see the resurgence, if you will, of live rock music. And then just in general, being out in the public, playing shows, keeping the music scene alive through young people. The future is bright, I think, for music in Calgary, and for young musicians, and for rock and roll in general, when you look at how many young kids are playing these days and being out. So yeah, it's just a win-win for both the music scene in Calgary, but just the genre in general. We know that some live music venues, and particularly rock music venues, are closing down and stuff, but I mean, it's good to see that it's still alive and well, and will be around for a long time to come.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I think that some people in the scene may forget sometimes that these younger generations and younger people are the next fans of music. They're the next people who are going to keep this music scene thriving and going, when the older ones make kind of way for them, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. I'm saying this is your next audience, for bars and venues. These are the people that when they turn 18 will come and watch the live shows. These are the people that that are going to keep music alive. So give them those opportunities. So there's not enough, in my opinion, in Calgary, enough music venues for young kids, right? I mean, It's just a licensing thing. You either get a license to allow kids in the bar, or you don't. And even if it's up till 9 o'clock, I mean, there's some restricted licenses that still work great. I mean, we do a lot of our shows on Sunday afternoons because venues are empty, and so they don't normally have any bands playing, and so we love to go then. And also, it works with their licensing as long as you're out by 9 o'clock, which is fine. Anyways, these are kids, right? So we're not keeping them out till 2 in the morning at bars anyways.
Yeah,
so
exactly. We're
We're happy to, come in at noon, fill a place, clear out by 7 or 8 o'clock, and call it a day. And it's still a great show on a real live stage. So, yeah, I mean, it's because these kids, they want it. They love it. They want to be out there. And then the more opportunity we give them, the better for everybody, better for the kids and their development, and being out on stages, better for obviously the parents to get to come see them, better for the community because we're growing these young musicians. So yeah, it's a win-win if we can get more venues, get more kids on stages, and we obviously, being a School of Rock, want to kind of be the leader in that, right? Last year we held a Trap and Gill, unfortunately he's no longer around either. We held a youth music festival at the Trap and Gill. We rented it for the entire day. With School of Rock, obviously bands played, but then we invited any and all youth music bands that want to perform, from solo acts to original music to whatever. We just filled it, the lineup. We had about 15 bands come and play. Again, just to really organize it and run it and say, this is a day of youth music here to celebrate all kinds, all genres, too. It wasn't just rock music.
Yeah.
You know, we had singer-songwriters playing acoustic guitars to full bands to you name it. So we want to sort of lead the way and really set the tone for hopefully the city and the music scene to say that, you know, youth music is alive and well, and here we are, you know, give us an opportunity and we'll show you some good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember when I was younger, and there were a lot of shows going on, but they were larger shows, you know what I mean? They were at Mac Hall and stuff like that, or the ballroom. And I feel like a lot of shows now aren't getting that kind of publicity, and they're moving towards bars, which kind of makes it harder for kids to go and experience just live music in general. And the shows that are like out there, they're really expensive and kids can't afford to go to.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, there's that side of it. Yeah, there's the, you know, can kids play, but there's also can kids go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a 17-year-old daughter that loves the same kind of music I love, and I'll hear that a band is playing, right? And I like taking her to shows, right? I mean, it's fun for me to be there with her, but also for her to experience it. And, you know, and I drag her to kind of bands that I like to see just to kind of, you know, have her experience that. But that's the first question I ask is, oh, it's at such and such a place where it's not all ages, you know, or whatever. Oh, sorry, you can't come. So yeah, we're limited. You know, the Grey Eagle's pretty good. They get some pretty premier acts, and it is all ages. Yeah, but there's a lot of larger venues where it's either too expensive, or they just don't allow kids. So and that's unfortunate because these kids. I mean, Iron Maiden again, back to Iron Maiden, but it's fresh in my mind just because we're doing a show right now. You know, every kid at School of Rock went to see Iron Maiden in at the Saddle Dome. You know, kids were allowed, but again, the parents are having to fork out some pretty big dough for them to go see a band like that. So it's just accessibility, right? More shows, more, you know, quality acts in venues that kids can go and kids can afford to go to is key. Yeah, because the more they can see it, experience it, you know, it's better for them too, right? So
yeah, and I've had a couple of like youth bands on the podcast before, and that's, you know, one of their biggest things is like we just don't have anywhere to play, really. You know, there's only so many bars that we can play at, and you know, it's just hard to, as a youth band, to kind of make any headway in the music scene.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The places that they can play are pretty small too, right? I mean, they're okay. You know, the Blues Canada, as great as a venue that is, and they've been super supportive. It is small. We can't do School of Rock shows at the Blues Canada. It's too small. The kind of venues that we need for the kind of shows that we do with the number of bands we have has to be at least a 300 seat venue. And when I say seats, I mean parents like to come and, you know, and sit down and have a meal and some food and you know, and some drinks and bring siblings and stuff. So it has to be kind of, you know, family friendly atmosphere. But then from the stage, we want a real stage with real sound and real authentic and, you know, and quality, you know, show that we put on. The King Eddie's been real good as well, but again, same thing, pretty small. So you can only, you know, 150 people. So kids are really, that's the size of crowds they're playing to, right? Just because those are the venues that allow kids. And yeah, so larger venues, obviously. Other festivals and things, you know, where we get on some bigger stages and some larger crowds is when we're able to play some outdoor stuff, some festivals. School of Rock's had access to a few of those, and we've been lucky in that regard. But those are kind of few and far between, right? We get maybe one a summer, and it's a pretty unique experience that others don't have access to. So again, that's just a fairly limiting thing, right?
Well, I mean, like, yeah, even you're basically giving access to these kids that some musicians in the city don't even get access to, you know? So.
Yes, I know. That's what I was saying. Parents are jealous of their, you know, of their kids. They're like, wow, I play music and I've never been on a stage like this. So, so there are some, I mean, having said that, you know, that I wish there was more. There are some pretty unique opportunities that we get, you know, not School of Rock, but just our youth in general. That we're pretty lucky. Like, for instance, we just played at the Grey Cup Festival. Both School of Rocks played at the Grey Cup Festival down at Stampede Grounds. You know, middle of the day, but you know, what an opportunity, right? To be on that outdoor stage, beautiful outdoor stage there at the Grey Cup Festival. We played on Friday night or Friday afternoon and Saturday. Crowds are getting larger as the weekend went on, but a huge opportunity on a beautiful big stage, fully supported by the Stampede. You know, nice crowds from out of town, so it was really good exposure. Both School of Rock bands got to play. We had like a 2-hour set, so it was a really, really great experience. And you know, we want more of those types of things. We were lucky that, you know, somebody part of the Stampede organization that was kind of running the event. You know, we've done some stuff in the past, the Coca-Cola stage, so they recognized us and known that what we have done, so they invited us. But that's kind of invite only and a special thing. It's not like it's a full day of youth music or anything, right? So. Yeah. So there's a few of those happening, but like I said, they're great opportunities. We appreciate it. It's just they're few and far between, and I wish there was more. And I wish there was more for other people, not just School of Rock exclusive because we know somebody. I wish more bands could youth bands on those kinds of stages could have those opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. Is it people reaching out to you guys, or are you reaching out to kind of?
A little bit of both, yeah. Like I said, I think we've been in the city long enough and played in enough places that we do have a bit of a reputation that, you know, we put on a pretty quality rock show wherever we go. So I have sort of some standing gigs that come up every year where we play the same kind of places that they just call me up and say, hey, you want to do this again? Sure. Like we do Lilac Fest, and we do the Inglewood Night Market, and we do the, you know, Marteloup Mardi Gras. So those are kind of in the summertime is when we're most busy with shows, outdoor shows and stuff.
Yeah.
We do the CJ92 Kids Fun Bike Rally every year. That's an awesome event that we do outdoors. So those are kind of standing things that we do yearly. And then we have other groups and organizations like the Grey Cup Festival that contact us. I'm not really out heavily promoting, you know, hey, we got these kids, you know. Every now and then, you know, like the King Eddie, because they have sort of a rotating schedule, I'll reach out to them and say, hey, you know, if you've got any, you know, if you're doing like a youth day, a band day or whatever, let us know. We did a couple at the King Eddie, and yeah, and some, so it's a combination of both, I guess, people that know us that kind of book us. I'm certainly, you know, trying to promote the school and the kids and give them more opportunities, so I'll make the odd phone call. My latest kind of endeavor is the back alley, right? Yeah. We all know that the back alley recently reopened.
Yeah,
I'm super excited about that because I spent a few nights there in my youth, and the first thing I thought of is cool. They're going to bring back live music. So first of all, it's a new venue, live music, which is great. If you know, hopefully they'll survive. And then my second thought is, can we get those kids on this stage, right? It's an iconic stage. Kids probably don't understand or appreciate the history of it all, but
yeah,
we certainly do as parents, you know. So that's actually a conversation I'm going to have as soon as I can with the new owners and say, hey, we got School of Rock, got these kids. We'd love to get them on your stage. How can we make it work, right? So, and I don't know if they're all ages, if they're going to support that, if they want that or whatever. In a couple of different scenarios. One, if you have a big band that's playing, we'll open up for them or something, you know, or maybe we can play earlier in the day. Or two, we'll rent out the entire facility and do a full School of Rock show there. Like
yeah.
There's lots of different options. But yeah, I'd love to get our kids on that stage. Or maybe we do another like youth festival, you know, where other bands come, not just School of Rock. So lots of options. But the venue really has to be supportive, right? They have to say, yeah, we'd love to have you guys. You know, we know you bring big crowds, and we know that, you know, you'll fill a place on a day where maybe we're not open or we're slow,
yeah,
which we would do. So they have to be supportive of it. They have to love what we do. They have to, you know, think that it's a win for their business. And then sky's the limit to the different types of relationships we could have, the different types of shows we can do. It's a large enough venue to really support anything we want to do. So I'm excited. Hopefully we can work with them.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a win-win kind of situation here. Like, if you do say, yeah, open up for a band, you're going to be bringing out a larger crowd probably to that show than would have otherwise been there, you know, just because of, you know, family members and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's, you know, I think that's the advantage of us playing at a venue, especially if we do a full School of Rock show. We'll bring, you know, close to 400 people that maybe would not otherwise go to that venue, right? So that, you know, they go there to see their kid. They oh wow, this is a cool place. I'm going to come back. I'm going to, you know, bring my friends. I'm going to see another band here or whatever. Yeah. So it's good exposure for a venue, especially a new venue. And then obviously it's good exposure for the band being on stage, and then those crowds that we bring, that, like you say, would not otherwise come to that show perhaps. So yeah, it is a win-win for the venue. It's good for our kids.
Definitely. So what are kind of the kids' reactions when they get to play some of these larger shows?
Oh, they're super excited. I mean, like I said, I think the biggest, I guess, venue and stage that we've played at the Bella Theater, and like I said, the Wright Theater, but we got to play at the Palace, which was pretty amazing. That was our last June show. And yeah, that was just amazing. And a lot of the kids have actually been to shows there. Again, that's another venue that's not typically an all ages venue, but some of the kids have been to some of the shows, you know, some of the ones that are maybe all age, but they know of the bands that have played on this stage, right? Just like the South Schools played at the Coca-Cola stage. They're like, we're on the same stage as such and such a band or whatever, right? They just love the idea, and they have like, and these real rock venues have like a green room and stuff, right? So the kids get to hang out in the green room, and sort of the same reaction with like the King Eddie and even the Blues Can. I mean, these iconic venues that have had some of the real famous bands play, so they love it. I mean, obviously the stage and the size and the sound and the spectacle of it all, but also just the fact that like Monster Truck, for example. I know they played the Palace not too long before we played there, and they were like, "Oh, Monster Truck, we're opening up for Monster Truck." Well, not exactly, but still, you're on the same stage as them. It's kind of cool. We get to hang out at the same green room as them. Yeah. And the Coca-Cola stage, same thing. We're backstage. Yeah. Whatever bands were that were there last summer, they're like, "Yeah, we hung out in the same place, played on the same stage as." Yeah. So it's great. They love it. I mean, and like I said, places that a lot of bands don't get to play. Like the GM of the Palace at the time was saying that there's bands that would kill to get a real professional touring bands that would kill to get on the Palace stage. They can't. So we're so lucky, and and the kids have to understand and they do appreciate this opportunity, because it doesn't come around every day. And once you're not with School of Rock and you're out there and you're graduated and you're trying to make a go of it, it can be hard. You can be hard pressed to get on that same stage again for a long, long time. It'd be something pretty special to get on the Palace stage, right? So.
Yeah, for sure. So, do a lot of kids who do go to the School of Rock, do you see them forming their own bands once they do graduate? Or?
Oh, for sure. I mean, some of our most ambitious kids, which are the kids that are in our house band, which is like our all-star band. So you take the top 10 or 12 musicians within our school at that age group, and we put a band together, like we call it our house band. Some of those kids already have their own bands, like on the side. Like, that's what I mean. They want more. Some of them are in 2 shows, so they rehearse 3 hours twice a week. They're in our house band. They have their own bands, and some of their own bands are writing original music. And they're out touring, but doing a few shows wherever they can, in and around Calgary. So yeah, I mean, some of them, the super ambitious ones that are younger, they're already doing it, right? Yeah. On a very small scale, obviously. And again, the same challenges when you're out there trying to get your own band going is the places you can play, and the opportunities that are presented are few and far between. But yeah, so a lot of these young kids that are super ambitious, they don't wait till they're done. They're doing it now already. And again, these are the kids that just, like I said, they can't get enough. They're not necessarily doing other activities. They're not sports kids or anything. It's just school and music, and that's it. And some of them, on top of all of that, are also in their school bands. It's concert bands or jazz band or whatever. Yeah, they're just 7 days a week music. Yeah. Some of them take lessons at School of Rock, and they're also taking lessons with some other, professionals out in the industry, and they just can't get enough. So it's amazing. And you see these kids and you think, like I said, wow, this is a good future here. These kids are super motivated and really talented and have a great work ethic, right? So I mean, they're going to be successful in whatever they do. But those are the kids that are in our house band. Those kids that just live, eat, and breathe music, and they love it, and they'll take any opportunity to play anywhere, anyhow, any stage. Yeah. And so it's happening now. Yeah, on a pretty small scale, but we're starting to see that already for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, like, again, just I wish that like these kind of opportunities were available to me when I was a kid,
Yeah, so I mean, as much as I say, the opportunities are limited for youth here in town, I mean, like I said, they're pretty much finding everything that does exist. Another thing that we do is we host a youth jam. So on Monday nights at the Blues Can, they do like an open mic night youth jam or whatever, right? Where it's basically all kid bands, right? So School of Rock sponsored it, and we had our house band play. So we'd come and open up the evening sort of and play half a dozen songs or whatever. And then anybody else in the audience want to come up and jam with us, or you got your own band or whatever. And there's some of those around town, and there's open mics and stuff. So there are some places, and the kids that are really ambitious pretty much know where they all are. They know Monday night's the Blues Can, and this night's, and then they go, and they're busy, because I noticed one thing at the Blues Can, it was always the same kids, right? So those same half dozen bands that are just wanting to get stage time and practice, they all come, and we all jam together, and they get to know each other, and so there's a community there for sure that's being built.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's just giving them the opportunity, because like one of the things you do find out when you do, get out there is like networking is super important as well. And just having those opportunities to connect with their fellow musicians at that young age is, I think, another just like kind of invaluable thing that's happening.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah. They make great friends. And then they start to cross pollinate, you know. So and so's got a band, and oh, we just lost our drummer. Hey, you want to come and hang with us? And I've seen kids play in multiple bands at that youth festival. There was kids that were, you know, I would see a kid play on stage, and then another band 2 hours later would play. And I say, hey, you look familiar. Yeah, I was in that band earlier. Now I'm in this band. It's like they should, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
And Studio Bell does some things too for youth. They have their own, you know, they put bands together and they do a lot of that. They're really trying to do that as well. So even within School of Rock, we're trying to build a really solid community, because there's a ton of value in like getting kids together and getting them playing together and seeing one another in that whole ecosystem. Within School of Rock, we're really trying to do that too, where other School of Rocks get together and play. You know how I sort of said the Cross Canada Tour? Well, School of Rock corporate, and there's 240 locations worldwide and almost 40,000 students worldwide in the entire. We converge on Summerfest every year, which is in the summer in Milwaukee. It's the largest music festival in the world because it goes over multiple weeks. And School of Rock has an entire stage for 3 straight days, and over 80 School of Rocks from all over the world come together and play. So you can imagine that kind of culture and that kind of, you know, camaraderie that exists. And there's huge value in, I think, getting, like, so our house band, for example, getting them to play with other School of Rock house bands from not just in Canada, but like last year we went down to Seattle and there were 6 bands from California that came up. And just for them to see others, right? You know, and you know, not compare, not in a competitive way, but just go, wow, those guys were good. We got to try this. My instructor learned so much by watching these other bands, and the kids learn so much. And actually, after they watch other kids perform, their level goes up, right? They just feed off of each other. They get inspired, you know. And the next time they play, like they'll watch one night and perform, and then inevitably the next night they perform, it's better because just, you know, everybody's just, you know, pumped and really excited, and they see others and they learn from each other. And so there's a whole other community amongst the schools, even within School of Rock. And School of Rock really promotes trying to get, you know, tours going and other schools playing with each other and that kind of thing. So it's a neat community as well with it, and worldwide, really, because there's schools from Australia, South Africa, you know, Brazil, Mexico, and they in Canada, obviously, and we all try to get together as much as we can somewhere. You know, we all meet at some big festival, which is Summerfest. Yeah, so like I said, there's huge value in that. The social value, the learning value, the camaraderie, and the community and the friendships that exist when we do that kind of thing. It's really, really important and a valuable, you know, lesson for the kids when they get to do that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's not just like, now it's not just creating communities in Calgary, but like worldwide. You know, you're making those connections worldwide, and you get to experience what kids in other parts of the world, what kind of music they're making, even. Like, like, I feel like that's an invaluable experience again.
And that's really interesting. And again, I think just because of the growth of the movement, youth music and School of Rock, and how it's grown across the world, a new area that we're really starting to get into is this whole idea of, you know, is being, you know, creators of music, right? So we have a whole curriculum, we have camps around songwriting, right? So the other aspect of our music education is not just the performance side of it, it's the songwriting and recording side of it, right? Again, the other aspect of being a real professional musician, you got to compose your own music. So we have, like I said, we have a camp where they actually write and record their own original song in a week. We get kids together. We've gone to several recording studios where they've had to experience that process of recording live. And then we're taking it to the 3rd level with our house band next year, where they're going to write and record and perform an original song, and will be one of the songs that we put in rotation. So it's not all about just pumping out cover songs all the time, right? We are starting to, and the kids are ready, like, you know, as we evolve as a school, these kids, you know, these young kids that I said that have their own bands and some of their own original bands and are already starting to write their own music. This is a whole other area that we're going into. We actually had a songwriting contest within School of Rock where the winners actually got to go down and write and record in LA with like a real record label and stuff. So, you know, we're starting to sort of be recognized in the music industry as legitimate, you know, artists that can really contribute to, you know, new music going forward. So that's a whole other new area that we're just sort of scratching the surface with, that I think will open up a huge amount of new opportunities for kids too, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I was actually going to ask, is it do you teach songwriting and like
Yeah,
structure
just
like
starting
that?
to.
And that's awesome.
Just starting to, because again, these kids that are so proficient on their instruments. I mean, we have kids that play multiple instruments. You never master an instrument, but where you get to a point where you're proficient enough that you can literally go home, hear a song, and play it the next day. I mean, to me, that's pretty proficient, and most of our house band kids can do that. So they need a different challenge, something new. Okay, I can play that. I can go home and listen to it, play it, and perform it. Like I've been doing that, most of their life. I mean, these are young kids, but most of their lives. So they've got that down. So what's the next evolution in their, in their journey, their musical journey, and what's the next step for them musically? And that is to start writing and recording original content. So yeah, we are going that direction. And School of Rock recognized it, that there was a need for it, and that the kids were ready for it. And now it's just how do we fit it into everything else that we do and make it part of our curriculum, which we are now doing. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. And again, we have instructors that do that, right? I mean, the instructors that teach songwritings, these are, instructors that have real bands, real, music that they're developing, that have recorded. So we have lots of songwriters within our teacher community. So for them, it's just another thing to offer the students, which they already have experience doing. I mean, most of our instructors have written and recorded their own songs, and they're out there, still performing them live and so on. So it's not like I had to go out and find a songwriting instructor, right? All of my instructors do that now and have been doing that their entire lives. So it's an easy sort of next step in what we do as a school.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So what is like some of the challenges you guys may face? I know we probably touched on them a little bit, but
I mean, I guess in general, like I look at my school and stuff, and it's a youth activity, right? And like anything, life sometimes gets in the way, right? I mean, as much as these kids are super focused and dedicated and music is their life, at some point they get to 16, 17, 18, they get their driver's license. I got to go get a part-time job. I gotta, focus on my studies because I gotta get into university, and life kind of gets in the way. And it's unfortunate when you see. I mean, I get it. I have kids. I have a daughter that's graduating and going on to university, so I get it. Priorities change as you mature. But it's just unfortunate to see some of these kids that were super dedicated, super focused. This was their life, and all of a sudden they gotta like hang up the guitar. It's like, priority. Or I take on another activity. A different. So to me, it's just that balance, right? Is finding time to do what you love, and still, allowing time for everything else in life that you have to do. So, I just find that, I mean, from a student perspective, that is the challenge, is how, can they keep it going? Can they keep it going till they're 18 and beyond, right? And sometimes they don't necessarily stop forever. They're just, like a perfect example is our All-Star. We had a girl in our school that played keys and guitar, and she was an All-Star 2 years in a row at School of Rock. Great student, set a great example. I mean, she was at the highest level you can get at School of Rock. And then she graduated and went on to university. And now she doesn't play anymore. I mean, she might be trying to get her own band going, but she basically said, I got to hang up the guitar for now and focus on her studies, right? Which is a shame, because she's such a lovely person and a great musician. And I'm sure eventually she'll pick it up again. But, it's just one of those things where, she's starting her first year of university. She needs to focus on her studies. She can't be in a band anymore. Like, once they graduate out, they can come back, because we have adult band, right? And we're going to start alumni band. So it's not like we're kicking her out the door and saying, good luck, find something else. We always have opportunities for these kids to come back. But she just got to a point where she said, I'm busy. Got to focus on other things, which is completely understandable. But it's just unfortunate when these kids are so good and so, like loving it so much, and that they have to kind of hang it up for other things. But that's life, right? I mean, that happens in the real world with real musicians too, right? Oh, I have a baby, or I've got a full-time job, or life gets in the way, and it just makes it challenging for some of these kids, especially as they get into high school. There's a lot of pressure, right? A lot of pressure on teens. We've got to keep their marks up. They got to, and they're also, like I said, in school bands and other things, and the pressure's a lot. This, School of Rock's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be, a way they can kind of, hide, I guess not hide, but, kind of forget about the daily grind for a while and have some fun playing music. But it just becomes another thing that they have to worry about, and a scheduling thing, and parents, have to get them there. And so once in a while the decision's made that, we can't continue anymore, or we're busy with other things. So, it's sad when a really awesome student leaves, but it is what it is. So that's, some of the challenges for us, is just keeping students as long as we can, so that they continue on, because they're they got lots of opportunity, right? So we hope they stick with it.
Yeah, for sure. So, what I guess are some of the parents' reactions then to their kids in this program and stuff?
I mean, it's a not a grind, but it is work, right? Getting the kids ready for shows. It's 4 months of lessons and rehearsals, and when lessons first start, it's a little bumpy at first, and new kids coming in, they don't really understand how things work. We gotta get them acclimated, but the show is kind of a culmination of all their hard work on stage. We kind of get to celebrate what an awesome year it was, and the kids get to show off, because sometimes the parents don't see what's happening, right? They might drop their kid off at the door. They don't necessarily come in and watch or listen, right? So they don't, and like I said, early in a season, it might not sound that good, but man, we get them there for sure. So our shows are like, they're a spectacle. They're a celebration of all these kids' hard work, and ta-da, look at me, right? It's really exciting, and like I said, it's super exciting for the parents that have never seen their kid on stage before, right?
Yeah.
And parents are amazed at how far we can get them in such a short period of time. Our middle-age program is called Rock 101, so that's kids aged 8 to 12, and it is considered a beginner program. So an 8-year-old could walk in the door never having picked up a guitar before, and in 4 months they're going to be on stage playing songs live, no backing track, the real song. And parents kind of can't wrap their head around how's that even possible, or how can my kid even be in a band when they don't know how to play a guitar? Well, That's what we do. We make it happen. And even more remarkable is we do it in a week, because we'll have summer camps, right? We'll have 18 to 20 kids in a camp. We have 3 rehearsal rooms, so we split them up by age and skill level, but we want the right instrument mix. And we'll have one band that's our youngest age band, and they're usually beginners. And by Friday afternoon, they're playing at the Blues Camp. And again, parents cannot, how did you do that with my kid in virtually 4 days? Because, the first day is get to know each other, figure out the songs, get the bands going. So the first day, get to know each other. We don't do a whole lot on the first day. And by Friday afternoon, noon, we're kind of done. We have pizza, we load up the van, and we go to the venue. So it's literally 4 days that we get kids. I mean, the older age kids come in, they've already got some skill, and they probably already know some of the songs that we're going to do, so they can hit the ground running. But the younger age kids, yeah. So parents go absolutely nuts. They can't believe it. Oh, my God. Or my kid was really shy. I never thought they'd get on stage. I had one parent at a camp who's, he was in our older age group. I think he was 15 or 16, but a real shy kid, and signed up for the camp to do bass. But we needed him to sing, right? Got up on the mic and just killed it. It was just absolutely amazing. His dad came up to me after and said, I cannot believe you got him to sing. He's the quietest kid, the shyest kid. And he was amazing, just blew everybody away. So just that reaction is just unbelievable. And the cameras are out, and the parents are they're smitten. They just love it. It's the greatest thing. Those School of Rock shows are just amazing for a lot of reasons. Just the talent that's on display, but just the parents. And like I said, we bring big crowds. Everybody wants to come and see these things now. Parents, aunts, uncles, kids are out selling tickets, so they get their schoolmates out, and it's a pretty big spectacle, and everybody just loves it.
Awesome. Do you guys work with any of the schools around Calgary, or is it all just kind of like people finding you themselves?
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, because that's our audience, right? Is school age kids, right? So we try to do as much as we can. We actually had our program in West Spring School Middle School. My son goes there, and we live up in that area, so I coach the team, and I have a pretty good relationship with some of the teachers and the principal. And he actually allowed us to bring our School of Rock program into their school, which is a pretty unique situation. It doesn't happen all the time, and we were lucky to get it, but it took us like 3 years to get it. So yeah, absolutely. We're approaching schools all the time and saying, hey, we'd love to get involved in what you do. Can we, put on a concert? Like we've done some other things where we come and, like their end of school year, we'll come and play a concert for them. But the after school program that we got to do was, because they're done at 12:20 on Fridays, and they always bring like third party companies to come in and work with an after school program. They have had self defense company, they've had artists in residence come in and stuff. And after talking quite a bit, he's like, hey, why doesn't School of Rock come? So we actually were in their music room at their school. We brought our instructors, we brought our gear. They had some of the gear. They had a PA and mics and a drum kit, so we just had to bring some amps and a few extra guitars. We had a dozen kids. We did 6 weeks of class, and then on the final day, we did a show. We invited the parents to come and check it out. So that's fully integrated into the school, and I would love to get more of those. But otherwise, it's there's a school that's just kitty corner for us. We've played at their pancake breakfast. So the more, yeah, I'd love to get more involved, you know, and that's the other opportunity too is, you know, budget cuts in the school systems, teachers getting laid off. You know, unfortunately, most of the programs that get cut first are the arts funding programs, right? So art, music. So there are some schools that don't even have music programs anymore. So we'd love to be your music program. We'd love to come in there. We have, you know, obviously talented musicians. And the other thing that's great about that is we'll do it during the school hour, right? Because our program is after school, right? So it gives our instructors an opportunity to get more hours, more teaching time, working during the day, right?
Yeah.
Teaching. So yeah, we'd love to get more with schools. I mean, we believe there's an opportunity there. We think there's a need. Again, it's just getting in there, right? You got to kind of know somebody and really need the principal's blessing that they want to be part of it. And so we've had some success, and I'd love to do a lot more in schools if the opportunity was there.
Cool. So I guess what can the Calgary music scene do to help School of Rock?
You know, again, these kids are super talented. They're super ambitious. All they want to do is play as many places and as many times as possible with other kids, right? So, you know, open up your venues. And we want, you know, as much as possible, a real, you know, rock music venue experience, right? We don't want to play in the corner of some restaurant or something, right? That we want venues that are set up for bands that normally have live music going. And just add youth to your scheduling. You know, once a month, have a youth day or an open jam or something where we invite bands to come out and play. You know, larger music venues that have these premier acts, make them all ages, right? You know, and allow allow more opportunities for kids to get up on stage and play. Again, it's a movement, and it's a growing thing for the crowds. Like I said, when we put on these shows, not just School of Rock, but that youth music festival, we filled the place. You know, 300-seat restaurant for the entire day.
Yeah.
So we bring crowds, we bring people. Like there's a business reason why you should be doing it. You know, there's a music reason obviously to grow, you know, youth music, but there's also a business reason why you should consider it. You know, there's just, and for a lot of venues, this is why we don't have the license, or we're not going to get the license. And the biggest hurdle for us, and as soon as I walk into a venue, I can tell you right now if they're going to allow kids, is the VLTs.
Okay.
You know, so the licensing is any venue that has VLTs, no kids, never, anytime. So, you know, we avoid those obviously, but there are some venues that kind of make the decision that they haven't gone out and pursued that. You know, I don't know what the cost is, and even on a limited basis, right, till 9.
Yeah.
I don't know what the cost would be to get an extra license to allow kids till 9 o'clock, but I think there's a compelling business reason why they should. Then we will come and do a show at your venue, and we'll fill the place. You'll make lots of money on, you know, food and drink for our crowds, and if it goes well and it's a good venue and you support us, we'll keep coming back. You know, I don't want to just bounce around a million different venues. I'd love to find a venue that's the right size. Like the Trapping Guild was perfect because it was the right size. They had a nice stage. You know, they were very, very supportive and welcoming. We did quite a few shows there. We did all our camp shows there. We had several, and the South School, because it's kind of between both schools, location-wise. They did a bunch of school shows there, and it was the ideal sort of venue where we were continuing to give them business. And unfortunately, you know, they couldn't make a go of it. So I hope there's more of those kind of venues that come around, or if they're already out there, will open their doors to more kids to play.
Yeah, for sure. So what's your personal favorite thing about being involved with School of Rock?
Well, I mean, I was obviously lucky enough that, you know, and again, part of the reason why I wanted to get into this is I have kids, right? So both my kids were involved. And again, this is part of that story about kids getting too busy and not being able to do it. My son and my daughter were both in the school at one time. I have a 14-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter. They were both in our house band. So they were like the all-star kids. My son played bass. My daughter sang. And then my son, he's an athlete too. So he just got too busy. He plays 2 sports. So he had to leave. But when it first opened, it was a family business, you know. It was, my kids were involved. My daughter is now teaching at the school.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's really been a family business for me, and with watching my kids flourish in that environment. So I can tell you firsthand as a parent what it's done for my child and their confidence and so on. So just seeing that and being part of that for my own kids, but obviously everybody else's kids, right? So just the parents' reactions, how happy they are, how much they love what we do, you know, how much they love to see their kid up there. So just being able to, you know, really changing lives in some cases. Some of these kids that come in that, they're not sports kids. They're kind of a bit of an outcast. They don't have a lot of friends. All they do is sit in their basement and, play guitar because that's what they love, but they've never had an opportunity to really get out there. So, our school is like a community. It's like a clubhouse where kids can hang out, and the minute they walk in the door, they have something in common. We all like the same kind of music, right? So there's just that genuine sort of camaraderie. So it's just such a great environment. Instructors love it, so it's not often you can work at a place where everybody that works there loves what they do, loves the kids, It's just a really happy and positive environment. The kids are super stoked to come every day. And yeah, it's just an overall great vibe being at the school. But then what we're actually doing, the difference we're making, and you see that on stage, that's just the biggest reward for me ever. Like when I first, was introduced to School of Rock, again, I saw the All-Stars. So I saw the School of Rock All-Stars in Chicago, and they absolutely blew my mind. And this is before I had my own school. And I thought, if I could come even anywhere close to this, developing kids to be that good and that confident on stage, then I've done it. I've made it. I've been successful, and we've done that and more in in what we've been able to accomplish at the school. So it's like, wow, this actually happened, and it's a real thing, and it keeps growing. So yeah, I'm super proud of the work we've done, and all the kids and the parents are super supportive. So that's not one thing; that's a lot of things. But it's just such a neat, a neat environment to be part of, and like I said, just to see the kids grow and change and develop and the amazing things they're doing, like musically, they impress me every day at how far they can take it.
Yeah. And it sounds like what School of Rock is doing is it's basically just building a community. It's giving these kids a place where they, they fit in, they belong, and like that's what the music scene in general does for all the outcasts out there too. So it's cool to see that School of Rock is just kind of an extension of that for today's youth, which is it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and allowing them to take music seriously if they want, and really maybe this is a career for some kids, right? So it's kind of another different extracurricular than what has been provided in the past. It used to be kind of sports and school band, and it's something completely different that can open up so many doors for them, outside of what they normally would do. I know for a fact a lot of these kids want to be in bands. I mean, that's their goal. They want to be professional musicians. They want to write their own music. So we've given them that opportunity to really explore that at a really young age and start to see that as a real opportunity for them. And so we're hopefully creating some career musicians.
Awesome. So I guess, is there just kind of any final things you would like to say before we kind of close this out?
No, just I appreciate the opportunity to come here to talk about this. When anybody asks kind of what we do, or if they say, hey, does School of Rock want to get involved? Hey, do you want to sponsor this event, or do you want to set up a booth or whatever? What I say is, I can handle brochures, or I can have a booth with our sign, but you got to see these kids. You got to see them on stage. That really, tells the story of what we do and the net result of what we're able to accomplish. So, you just got to see these kids. So any chance I get to sort of showcase them, that's what the house band's all about. Take the best kids that have the most ambition and then put on the best show to get them out in the community as much as we can. So it's just one of those things. And again, I'm not just toting, School of Rock bands. There's a ton of great youth bands out there that have, come a long way without ever going to School of Rock. So there's just a ton of good music out there, a ton of young, talented kids in Calgary. I'm amazed. Like I said, when we put on these youth festivals, and we were part of the songwriting competition that they had as well, and just these talented young kids and the music that they're producing, and there's a ton of great talent out there. So just support it, go see it, open up your venue for more opportunity for these kids, and just celebrate it, because it's really exciting to see all genres too. Exciting to see how much talented youth there is out there, and I just I hope it continues to grow, and the Calgary music scene supports it, and we can just have a place for all these talented kids that they can continue to pursue their dreams.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it's really important, and I think it's really awesome, the work that you guys do, and getting the chance to talk to you and find out more about it makes me appreciate it even more.
Great,
honestly.
Well, there, my job's done.
Yeah. I'll have all the social media links in the episode notes, so that if anybody would like to check you guys out, it's really easy to do so. They can just go on the episode notes and check it out. I highly recommend that you do. Thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. If you liked this episode of the podcast, why not leave a review? You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. For up-to-date information on the podcast, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us at Froggy Style Productions. That's Frog, the letter E, Style Productions. For more ways to support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.